Conducting internal audits effectively is how you turn compliance from a checkbox into a competitive advantage for your organization. An internal audit is your systematic, independent review to verify that processes meet requirements and identify opportunities for improvement. You'll need to plan audits carefully, gather objective evidence through interviews, observations, and document reviews, then report findings clearly. Example: if auditing your training process, you might verify that employee certifications are current, observe a training session, and interview participants about its effectiveness, comparing all three against your documented procedures. The real value comes when you use these insights not just to fix problems, but to prevent them, creating a culture where quality improves continuously. Effective auditing requires more than technical skills. It demands a multifaceted approach that combines ethics, perception, and analytical rigor. Let's examine the key qualities that make an auditor truly exceptional in today's complex business environment. Ethical conduct forms your foundation, ensuring integrity across scientific, financial, and operational audits. This means maintaining impartiality even when findings may be unpopular. Example: when discovering accounting irregularities, you would report them objectively regardless of potential organizational consequences. Green awareness represents your commitment to sustainable practices, considering environmental impacts alongside traditional metrics. Example: during a facility audit, you might evaluate energy efficiency measures with the same rigor as safety protocols. Diplomatic skills enable you to navigate sensitive situations while maintaining constructive relationships. Example: when interviewing employees about process deviations, you'd frame questions to encourage transparency without creating defensiveness. Original thinking allows you to simplify complex systems and identify root causes efficiently. Example: rather than reviewing every document, you might develop targeted sampling methods that reveal systemic patterns. Versatility ensures you can assess multiple attributes simultaneously, from compliance to operational effectiveness. Example: while auditing production quality, you'd simultaneously evaluate equipment maintenance records and operator training logs. Perceptive analysis gives you the insight to understand not just what's happening, but why. Example: recognizing that repeated safety violations stem from unclear procedures rather than employee negligence. By cultivating these interconnected qualities, you transform auditing from a compliance exercise into a strategic function that drives meaningful organizational improvement while maintaining the highest professional standards. A well-structured audit process is your roadmap to consistent, valuable assessments that drive real improvement. Let's walk through each critical phase to ensure your audits deliver maximum impact for your organization. You'll begin by initiating the audit, defining its purpose, scope, and criteria based on risk and previous findings. Example: if last quarter's audit revealed gaps in supplier documentation, you might initiate a focused follow-up audit of your procurement process. Next comes preparing audit activities, where you develop checklists, schedule interviews, and gather relevant documents. Example: for a production audit, you'd review quality manuals, process flow charts, and recent non-conformity reports before setting foot on the floor. When conducting audit activities, you'll collect evidence through observation, interviews, and document review. Example: while auditing calibration procedures, you might observe technicians at work, interview quality supervisors, and examine calibration certificates. Preparing and distributing the audit report transforms your findings into actionable insights. Example: your report might highlight both compliant areas like proper safety signage and opportunities such as inconsistent record-keeping and maintenance logs. Completing the audit involves finalizing documentation and archiving evidence. Example: you'd ensure all working papers are properly organized for potential regulatory review or future audits. Finally, audit follow-up verifies corrective actions. Example: if you identified missing temperature logs in food storage, you'd return after 30 days to confirm new monitoring procedures are working. By following this complete process, you ensure audits aren't just snapshots of compliance, but catalysts for continuous improvement that strengthen every aspect of your operations. An effective internal audit program is your strategic blueprint for maintaining compliance and driving continuous improvement across your organization. This isn't just a schedule of audits. It's a carefully designed system that ensures you're evaluating the right processes at the right time to maximize value. Your internal audit program should systematically cover all critical areas of your quality management system. You'll need to establish the frequency of audits based on process risks, previous findings, and regulatory requirements. Example: high-risk areas like sterile production in pharmaceuticals might require quarterly audits, while administrative processes may only need annual reviews. The program must include clear responsibilities for planning, conducting, and following up on audits. Example: you might assign your quality manager to lead product audits, while department supervisors handle process audits within their areas. Documentation is key. Your program should outline methodologies, reporting formats, and competency requirements. Example: maintaining a master schedule that shows all planned audits for the year, along with their scope and criteria, helps ensure nothing gets overlooked. Remember, a well-structured internal audit program does more than satisfy compliance requirements. It becomes an early warning system that identifies opportunities for improvement before they become problems. By implementing this proactive approach, you'll create a culture of quality that permeates every level of your organization. A well-structured audit plan is your roadmap to a successful, value-added audit that delivers meaningful insights for your organization. Let's examine the key elements you'll need to include to ensure your audit is thorough, efficient, and impactful. Your audit plan must first identify the audited organization or department, along with the specific audit date and assigned auditor. This establishes clear accountability from the outset. Example: you might plan to audit the procurement department on May 15th, with your lead quality engineer serving as the primary auditor. The audit criteria form the foundation of your review. These are the standards, procedures, and requirements against which you'll assess compliance. Example: for a manufacturing process audit, your criteria might include ISO 9001 requirements, internal work instructions, and customer specifications. You'll need to define the audit scope carefully, outlining exactly which processes, locations, and time periods will be included. Example: your scope might cover order processing from June 1st through December 31st, but exclude supplier evaluation activities. Clear audit objectives keep the review focused on what matters most. Example: verify that all calibration activities follow documented procedures and regulatory requirements is more actionable than simply check equipment calibration. Finally, a detailed timetable ensures efficient use of everyone's time. Example: you might allocate 2 hours for document review, 3 hours for floor observations, and 1 hour for opening and closing meetings. Remember, taking time to develop a comprehensive audit plan pays dividends throughout the audit process. By addressing these elements up front, you'll conduct more focused audits that yield clearer findings and more valuable improvement opportunities for your organization. Now, let's look at the internal audit plan template. The audit criteria are ISO 22028 FSMS and all regulatory requirements. The goals of this audit are threefold: to determine the conformity of your food safety management system with these criteria, to evaluate its ability to meet all applicable statutory, regulatory, and internal requirements, and, as applicable, to identify areas for potential system improvements. The overall audit objective is a full FSMS audit. This template is your practical guide for every audit, ensuring you have a clear purpose and scope. By using it, you systematically check that your system is compliant and effective. For example, by verifying that your documented procedures for handling a food allergen are both properly written and consistently followed on the production floor. This table outlines a detailed audit schedule for your food safety management system. It begins by auditing the context of your organization and its interested parties, then moves through your FSMS scope, policy, and objectives. It examines your food safety team's roles and reviews prerequisite programs, or PRPs. The schedule then covers your supplier approval and purchasing process before diving into the core safety controls. your hazard analysis, HACCP study, and the control of critical control points, or CCPs, and operational prerequisite programs, OPRPs. It continues with production and process control, the calibration of monitoring devices, and the control of non-conforming product. It assesses personnel competence, training, and awareness, along with training effectiveness. Finally, it reviews your systems for corrective and preventive actions, internal audit, management review, and overall continual improvement. This comprehensive plan ensures you methodically evaluate every critical component of your system. For example, when auditing your HACCP study, you will verify that the identified critical limits for a cooking process are scientifically validated and that monitoring records prove they are consistently achieved, ensuring the elimination of biological hazards. An effective audit checklist is your safety net. It ensures you cover all critical requirements while maintaining focus during the audit process. Let's explore how to create and use this essential tool to maximize your auditing effectiveness. While audits are by nature sampling processes that can't examine every single transaction, your checklist serves as a strategic guide to ensure no key requirement goes untested. Example: even if you can't review every training record, your checklist would mandate verifying a representative sample across different departments and job functions. A well-constructed checklist minimizes the risk of overlooking important areas during the audit, especially when unexpected findings arise. Example: your checklist might include verifying emergency stop functionality on machinery, something that could be overlooked if you become focused on documentation reviews. This working document serves both as an aide-memoire and a structured interview guide. Example: when auditing document control, your checklist would prompt questions about version control, approval signatures, and distribution records, even if the initial discussion focuses only on retrieval processes. To build an effective checklist, you'll want to prioritize requirements based on risk and past nonconformities. Example: if previous audits revealed issues with calibration records, you would include specific checklist items to thoroughly examine this area. Remember, your checklist isn't a rigid script, but a flexible tool that ensures comprehensive coverage while allowing for follow-up questions. Example: a checklist item about training effectiveness might begin with verifying records, but could lead to observing actual work practices if concerns emerge. By investing time in developing and refining your audit checklists, you create a powerful tool that balances thoroughness with efficiency, helping you conduct audits that truly add value to your organization's quality management system. A well-designed audit checklist is much more than just a formality. It's your essential tool for conducting thorough, consistent audits that deliver real value. Let's examine the key benefits this simple but powerful document provides. First and foremost, your checklist significantly reduces the risk of overlooking critical requirements during the audit process. By systematically working through each item, you ensure nothing important gets missed in the flow of the audit. Example: when reviewing document control procedures, your checklist would prompt you to verify both master lists and individual documents, preventing you from focusing only on the most visible records. Your checklist serves as a reliable evidence log, documenting exactly what you examined and what you found. Example: as you verify equipment calibration status, you can note directly on the checklist which certificates you reviewed and any discrepancies observed. When it comes time to prepare your audit report, the checklist becomes an invaluable reference. Example: the notes you took while reviewing training records transform directly into documented findings about compliance gaps or best practices. Having the auditee sign the completed checklist creates an important record for future reference. Example: if questions arise 6 months later about what was covered in the audit, the signed checklist provides definitive proof of the scope and findings. Remember, your audit checklist is both a quality assurance tool and a legal safeguard. By using it consistently, you'll conduct more effective audits while protecting your organization from potential disputes about what was or wasn't reviewed. This simple practice helps turn your audits from compliance exercises into genuine drivers of continuous improvement. This supplier evaluation checklist provides a structured approach to auditing one of your most critical business processes, ensuring you work with reliable vendors who meet your quality standards. Let's walk through how to use this tool effectively during your audits. The checklist begins by examining how you evaluate suppliers initially. Example: you would verify whether your organization uses scorecards, on-site assessments, or product sampling when qualifying new vendors, and whether these methods are consistently applied. Next, it assesses how selection criteria are determined and documented. Example: you might review who sets technical specifications, whether it's your engineering team, quality department, or end users, and where these requirements are formally recorded. The checklist then moves to operational aspects like requirements communication and performance monitoring. Example: when checking purchase orders against your approved supplier list, you'd look for any instances where materials were sourced from unapproved vendors. Critical questions address how you handle supplier issues, a key indicator of process effectiveness. Example: you would examine records to see whether repeated late deliveries triggered any formal corrective actions or supplier development initiatives. Finally, the checklist verifies whether supplier performance reaches senior management visibility. Example: reviewing management review meeting minutes would show if supplier quality metrics are regularly discussed at the leadership level. Remember, this checklist isn't just about finding faults. It's a framework for meaningful conversations that can strengthen your supply chain. By methodically working through these questions, you'll gain valuable insights that can reduce quality risks, improve delivery performance, and ultimately enhance your organization's operational resilience. Drawing meaningful conclusions from your audit findings is where the real value of the process emerges, transforming observations into actionable insights that drive improvement. Let's examine how to structure this critical phase effectively. You'll begin by thoroughly reviewing all audit findings against your original objectives. This ensures your conclusions remain focused and relevant. Example: if your audit aimed to evaluate compliance with ISO 9001's supplier evaluation requirements, you would specifically analyze findings related to vendor selection criteria and performance monitoring. Next, you'll need to reach agreement on the audit conclusions with your team. This collaborative approach ensures balanced perspectives. Example: when assessing multiple instances of missing calibration records, you might conclude whether this represents an isolated oversight or a systemic documentation control issue. Developing clear, practical recommendations is crucial. These should directly address your findings while considering operational realities. Example: rather than just noting improved document control, you might recommend implementing a digital tracking system with automated reminders for recalibration due dates. Finally, you'll establish follow-up steps to verify corrective actions. Example: if you identified gaps in employee training, your follow-up plan might include reviewing updated training records within 60 days and conducting spot checks of work practices. Remember, well-crafted audit conclusions do more than summarize findings. They create a roadmap for tangible improvements. By following this structured approach, you ensure your audits deliver lasting value rather than just identifying problems. This transforms the audit process from a compliance exercise into a powerful tool for organizational growth and quality enhancement. Effectively communicating audit conclusions is just as critical as the findings themselves. It transforms observations into actionable improvements while maintaining positive working relationships. Let's explore the key steps for these important discussions. Begin by corroborating your findings with objective evidence to establish credibility. Example: when presenting a conclusion about missing calibration records, you would reference specific equipment logs you reviewed and the dates where documentation was incomplete. Present your conclusions clearly to prevent misunderstandings, focusing on facts rather than opinions. Example: instead of saying, "Your documentation is poor," you might explain, 3 out of 10 calibration records reviewed were missing required supervisor signatures." Give management the opportunity to provide context for any findings. Example: what appears to be a training gap might actually be a recent staffing change that's already being addressed, information that would shape your recommendations. Encourage prompt action by discussing realistic timelines for addressing findings. Example: For critical safety violations, you might agree on 24-hour corrective actions, while procedural updates could have a 30-day implementation window. Throughout the discussion, maintain a collaborative approach that emphasizes improvement rather than blame. Example, framing findings as opportunities to strengthen the quality system rather than failures fosters a more productive dialogue. Remember, these discussions aren't just about reporting problems. They're the starting point for meaningful improvements. By conducting them professionally and constructively, you'll build trust while driving positive change throughout your organization. Understanding how to properly classify nonconformities ensures you prioritize corrective actions effectively and allocate resources where they're needed most. Let's clarify the three main categories of findings you may encounter during audits. Major nonconformities represent significant failures that impact your entire management system's effectiveness. These typically involve breakdowns in critical processes that directly affect customer satisfaction or regulatory compliance. Example, discovering your pharmaceutical facility has been operating without validating sterilization processes would constitute a major finding requiring immediate shutdown and corrective action. Minor nonconformities are isolated issues that don't immediately compromise product quality or system integrity, but still represent deviations from requirements. Example, finding a single expired calibration certificate among 20 properly maintained equipment records would typically be classified as a minor finding. Observations highlight potential weaknesses that haven't yet resulted in actual nonconformities but warrant attention. Example, noting that your document control system relies heavily on paper records without backup procedures would be an observation suggesting a future vulnerability. When classifying findings, you'll need to consider both the severity of the deviation and its potential impact. Example, a missing safety guard might be minor if found during a routine audit, but becomes major if discovered after an injury occurs. Remember, proper classification isn't about minimizing findings. It's about ensuring your response matches the risk level. This systematic approach helps you address the most critical issues first, while still tracking opportunities for incremental improvement across your operations. A well-structured non-conformance report is your roadmap for driving meaningful corrective actions and preventing recurring issues. While this template appears to have some formatting challenges, let's clarify the essential components every effective NC report should contain. Your report should begin with clear identification details, including a unique tracking number for each nonconformity. This creates accountability and traceability throughout the corrective action process. Example, assigning NC202401 to a January finding about calibration records helps track its resolution status. The problem description needs to precisely document what was found, where, and when. You'll want to include objective evidence rather than opinions. Example, instead of writing poor documentation, specify 3 out of 10 equipment calibration records lacked authorized signatures during the January 15th audit. For the corrective action section, you'll need to distinguish between immediate containment actions and long-term preventive measures. Example, for missing safety guards, your containment might be isolated affected equipment, while the preventive action could be implemented daily visual inspection checklist. The verification process confirms actions were effective. Example, you might note verified implementation through 30-day follow-up audit and operator interviews on March 1st. Remember, a good NC report does more than document problems. It creates a clear path to improvement. By including these key elements, you'll transform findings into opportunities to strengthen your quality management system and prevent future occurrences. Poorly documented nonconformities undermine your corrective action process and leave root causes unaddressed. Let's examine how to transform vague findings into actionable, evidence-based statements that drive real improvement. The current nonconformity statements lack specificity, making them difficult to address effectively. Take the finding about customer meeting minutes. It doesn't specify which requirements aren't being met. Example, a stronger statement would be March's customer review. Minutes lack documented evidence of action item assignments, violating Clause 9.1.3 of ISO 9001:2015, which requires maintaining documented information. Similarly, the change management process finding fails to identify which standard requirements are missing. Example, you should specify the change request form from May 15th doesn't include required risk assessment fields as mandated by Clause 8.2 of our quality manual. When noting unavailable error information, your finding should document the impact. Example, technicians couldn't access the known error database during 3 service calls in April, resulting in 20% longer resolution times. For unimplemented internal audits, include the time frame and standard violation. Example, no internal audits were conducted in the second quarter as required by Clause 9.2, leaving process gaps undetected for 90 days. Remember, well-crafted nonconformities share 3 traits. They cite specific requirements, include objective evidence, and demonstrate business impact. By applying this rigor, you'll create findings that command attention and drive meaningful corrective actions rather than just documenting problems. Here is the nonconformity report for a good finding. The organization is XYZ Incorporated, Division and Address Damam, KSA. The audited division and process is production. The report number is 01 against the standard ISO 22000-2018, Clause 8.5.4.3, categorized as minor. Part 1. The statement. During the audit of the production process, it was observed that monitoring records for identified OPRPs and CCPs were incomplete, and in some cases critical and operational limits were not consistently recorded at the defined monitoring frequency. The auditor's name is Duncan Roberts, with a date of November 1, 2024. This finding is a practical example of what you will look for during an audit. It highlights how a minor lapse in record-keeping at a critical control point, such as a pasteurization temperature log, can create a gap in your evidence, making it difficult to prove your food was consistently processed safely. An effective audit summary transforms findings into actionable insights that drive continuous improvement. While this template contains some unclear headings, let's clarify the key components every comprehensive audit summary should include. You'll want to begin by documenting the number and types of findings identified during the audit. Example, your summary might note 3 major nonconformities in document control and 5 minor observations in training processes. The Strengths section highlights what's working well in your system. Example, you might recognize effective calibration tracking with 100% compliance across all production equipment. For weaknesses or deficiencies, be specific about areas needing improvement. Example, rather than just poor record keeping, specify 20% of maintenance logs lacked supervisor approval signatures. Your conclusions should synthesize the overall system effectiveness. Example, while the quality management system generally meets requirements, document control processes require immediate attention to prevent compliance risks. Include clear recommendations with assigned actions. Example, the quality manager will implement electronic document tracking by September 30th, with verification audit in November. Opportunities for improvement go beyond basic compliance. Example, consolidating supplier quality data could reduce material defects by an estimated 15%. Remember, a valuable audit summary does more than report findings. It provides leadership with a clear roadmap for quality improvement. By including these key elements, you'll ensure your audits deliver lasting organizational value. A comprehensive audit summary serves as the official record of your certification audit and a roadmap for continuous improvement. Let's examine each critical component to ensure your summary delivers maximum value. Begin by documenting attendance to establish who participated in the audit process. Example, your list should include not just auditors but key personnel interviewed, like the quality manager and process owners. Acknowledgements recognize the cooperation of the audited organization. Example, you might note the production team's assistance in providing timely access to records and work areas. Clearly state whether the audit achieved its objectives within the defined scope. Example, the audit successfully evaluated all 23 clauses of ISO 9001 against the manufacturing processes at the Springfield facility. Present certification conclusions and recommendations with clear justification. Example, while 3 minor nonconformities were found in document control, the system demonstrates effective implementation overall, warranting recommendation for certification. Detail any nonconformities using the standard classification system. Example, one major nonconformity was identified in calibration procedures where 15% of equipment lacked current certificates. Include constructive improvement recommendations even for compliant areas. Example, implementing a digital training record system could reduce administrative workload by an estimated 30%. Note any limitations that affected the audit. Example, the audit scope excluded the temporary warehouse due to seasonal closure during the review period. Conclude with planned follow-up activities. Example, verification of corrective actions for the major nonconformity will occur within 90 days through document review and on-site confirmation. Remember, a well-structured audit summary does more than satisfy certification requirements. It becomes a strategic document that aligns your quality system with business objectives and drives meaningful organizational improvement. Thank you for your dedicated attention and active participation throughout this internal audit course for ISO 2EU00:2018. We sincerely hope the knowledge and practical skills you've gained from understanding the standards clauses and principles to applying them through detailed audit planning and non-conformity reporting will empower you to confidently assess and enhance your own food safety management system. Your commitment to mastering these concepts is a crucial step in safeguarding your products, protecting consumers, and strengthening your organization's commitment to excellence in food safety. We wish you the very best as you apply these valuable audit techniques in your workplace to drive continual improvement and ensure robust compliance.